go back to that simple example. So, so what I showed you over here was simply creating with the position, right? So if we play this on the position here, you see you have the green piece. Now to apply the transitions, now what I recommend is not to apply the transitions for the rough cut, and the rough cut is the one that's due. The transitions are like really easy. So, and often sometimes if you have them on and you try to fix things, it's harder to fix. So on this instance, like for instance, when I bring this back, I don't want to see that green there. So I'm going to click the transition tool and I'm going to drag and drop that in. So now you see it's not there. And you can shorten this. If you just roll over it, it will shorten it. And so now when I play it, you don't really see it in that context. And then if I wanted to, again, remember to highlight all of them and push them down and then roll over this to extend it. And then again, you can apply the fade and again, you just have to keep rewinding and play. And so that's why I say, the transitions are so easy. It's drag and drop, and then you can edit it if it's too long by hovering over and pushing that. Now, the next one is, when you do a crossover. So you see, I could, if I'm here, you see how that's a crossover. Now, the reason why that's problematic is because you see, I have not gotten rid of the white over here. And so the crossover is not as good. So you want to be sure to get rid of those squares if you have a crossover. So obviously, if I come here, I'm going to use my magic eraser. And now when I do the crossover on here, let's bring this up, that I can see that. Now you see right away, I have to turn this on to be able to see this. So now the crossover is not strong because I need to drag and drop this one on here. And I should be able to see this when this meets. So then that's better on there. So again, what we're doing is we're creating the ability to add the fades and so forth. Now again, you see it's blocky on here because of the cutoff. So you want to be sure that if I'm saying this because not only do you want to get your images in order, but you need to prepare them so that when you're doing the edits like this, I need to have that blue all the way around, or maybe even get the hands to be extending, right? So in order for that to happen, I would probably use my polygonal and go like this. And be able to come up here. So now I'm on this layer and I could use my eyedropper to pick up the color and then use the bucket to fill that. And so the same thing here, right? Using that polygonal. And so the other component is you want to assess what you have. And so right now, I really need this blue all the way around. So then again, I pick up the blue and I make that blend. And then if I have that. So it's important to know that sometimes you do have to tweak your assets. Assets are the content that is in the deliverable. And so that's how, you know, we do that crossover. So now the blend will be a lot better because I'm going from a white background to a blue background. So that's very stark. And so then this is how you begin to utilize that. Now, the other thing I wanted to do in this session is to show you, like, the positions are very easy, as I just showed you. So on this one, we're going to take it to the next level, which is utilizing the scale. So at this point, I want us to get close to this graphic. Now, I have no idea if scaling it is going to withstand the resolution. So I will find that out soon, because I believe the size was this size when I brought it in. So now what I want to do is I want to convert this layer into the advanced tweening, which is basically rotate and zoom. So rotate and zoom gives you scale and it gives you the rotation. Pan is actually like a position. Pan is like just the camera is traveling. So you already have that, and so it will give you a combination. They put these words in because a lot of editors, a lot of video editors are cinematographers. Cinematographers are people who use cameras, and camera language is pan, zoom, rotate, and things like that. But for visual motion graphics, we think of it as scale, rotate, and position. So when you use rotate and zoom, it's easy just to take this off and then come off of that tool. And now you notice it automatically throws in a rotate, which I really don't like. And so basically now you notice it's called transform. So what I do, because it's not what I want, but they automatically apply it, and which I think is silly. And they do that just so beginners can kind of grasp what it is. The best thing to do is just to delete these rotates. Just delete them. But somehow what you have here is the ability to use the other tools. Position was given in the beginning on the basic ones, and now you want scale and you want rotate. So now you have all of them. So now I'm going to bring this over to here, and it's really, I need to lock it. So if I went to this position, it would automatically be that for the entire sprite. So I like the position that it is right now. So what I want to do is to be sure to lock it. And so now I'm going to click, and these tools that you see in Photoshop are very similar to After Effects. Not, and also Premiere, but Premiere is not usually on the timeline. It's on another window, which to me is very confusing. But in After Effects, it's actually on the timeline like it is in Photoshop. So I'm locking that position, which is the one I just spoke about. And now I'm going to the end, and you want to get a little bit of a snap. And now I want to put another, I'm going to zoom in on this. The way to zoom in is down here. So you see, I'm getting really into, and you know, I'm scrubbing it, and it's kind of snapping. That's because it's snapping to the actual frames. And so on this one, I do want it to have a pause, so I'm going to do this scale within. You zoom out so you can see this. Because now, and let me scale it back down so you can see it in context to everything. Okay, so here we are. This is my next thing coming up. So at this point, what I want is the transform tool, which is Control T. And you don't need the Shift key. And there's that center. We talked about that in the last one. So I'm going to scale this up. And unfortunately, let me just see something. I'm going to come down and I'm going to Shift key and see what happens. No. What I want to happen, just got it, folks. Like I forgot, can't remember everything. So it's actually the Alt key will keep it centered like that. So watch, I'm clicking, you can't see it, but I'm clicking the Alt key down. I'm rolling over the edges, and now I'm getting the scale that I want. And then I'll just move it up a little bit because I want a little bit more of that drop of the coin. And then again, you can double click and it accepts it. Otherwise, you have a little check up here that you may not have seen, but there's a check like, are you sure you want this? And it's like check, or if you get used to that, you just double click it and then it accepts it. So now let's watch this video starting again from the beginning, left. It gets a little jagged over here. Let's stop by the space bar. It's a little fuzzy, but if I'm not sure, what I would do is I would render it by the end of the day. And that's actually an important tip as a video editor or an animator. When you're editing on your deliverable in time, you always render after every session. Because the problem with the preview window is sometimes it looks better than what the rendering is. And so you're not sure. And there's no tool that's going to show you unless you actually render it and then actually see it in full size. And then you can go, okay, the resolution passes it. All the effects are working. And then this way. You want to do that on every time you edit, because the last thing you want to do is not do that and work on it for 5 days and go, okay, I'm ready to render, and then all these problems pop up. So it's better to catch a problem as you're sequentially working than it is to look at it at the end of the day going, wow, I got a lot to fix. So it's important to do that. So that is with the transform. Any tools that we're talking about right now? Any things that anyone would like for things to happen?
I just have one question, and
Yes.
you go over it right now, but like, how would you embed like audio clips if you're doing a voiceover? Like, since they would be separate clips.
Exactly. Thank you for that question. So as you can see here, Rebecca, this track, the audio track, is very good for your soundtrack, right? So even if you have a voiceover, all voiceovers in most cases have a soundtrack way in the background, right? We call it noise, soft ambiance kind of thing. So that's where you would put your music. Now for your voiceover, what you want to do is to get it in there, the way to do it is to create a blank layer. So I'm going to do that now on top. And actually, I'm sorry, I'm going to take that back. I'm going to put it on the bottom so that it's right next to the audio track of the music. And then this way, if you have to, because you can put what do you call it? A keyframe on your audio and lower the volume. So let's do that. So right here, I'm on the bottom track, which is the visuals. So the audio track is not given to you in your layers. So you don't see the audio track in your layers. But when we make an audio track for the voiceovers or sound effects like clapping, people laughing, that kind of thing, you make a blank document. And that goes right above actually it laid it right, it laid it right above the white. So then you want to mouse down and drag it under. And now that blank layer is right here, right above. And again, file naming, layers is important. So then I would go voiceover 1, right? Make another layer for voiceover 2. I mean, you can add voiceovers, and you'll see what will happen is what I'm going to show you next. This layer here, this sprite that you see, is what we call a placeholder, meaning that when I come over here, oh, I'm sorry, I did the wrong one because I didn't label it. Labeling is important. Let me just get this guy that I have here. Wow, there he is. He's all the way at the end here. So let me just bring him in. You notice how I can hover over and it will go to the beginning. There we go. So this voiceover right here, which I've given a layer so I know it's an audio track and not a visual, and I have put it under my background color because you don't see voices. I mean, you don't see audio. So what this becomes is a placeholder, and right here, Rebecca, is your answer. So I come over here and I mouse down under this film clip, add media. And that is how you will be able to import your voiceover clips into there, which is really great. I'm always, in awe of people who have really good voices and speaking and how they can do voiceovers. So anyway, so that's a really good plus right there to be added. So then you can add many, right? You can add many, and you can also, I believe that if you have one track, you can actually, and I want to show this to you right now. You can actually maybe put all the clips in the same layer. I believe you could do that. So if you add and keep adding and adding, it will just add it. I did notice that wherever your marker is, if you put your marker where you want the new voiceover to go, I believe it will add it there. Now, I don't know that answer, but you will soon find out if you have more. But I do want to show you that if I wanted something to repeat, like on and off, or I wanted it to be repeated again, like maybe it's the URL in the beginning and maybe I want the URL at the end, you can come over here. Let me just show you with this. Let me turn this on. On the Nike one, I'm going to show you how to put a glow, because the other things that you can do with transitions are these filter effects. And I will show you how to do a glow on something. So in other words, if I highlight this layer and I wanted Mikey to repeat, you can come over here to scissors, right over here on the left, and click. And what it does is it just automatically makes a duplicate. But it makes a duplicate of where it is. So again, if I wanted to do something in a special effect way, you highlight it, you come up here to scissors and it cuts it, and you see now I have it repeated. So that's if you want to do something like on, off, or like I always say that, well, you guys are too young for this, but I remember when MTV Video was first created, all they did was slam graphics. And I was like thinking, wow, that's, how could I do that? And that scissor tool gives you that ability. So, and again, I just did undos. Don't forget your undos. The other thing I want to do over here, mouse down, is you see the resolution. This is often what video timeline tools are. Is right down here. I'm going to mouse down on it. It says resolution 50% and loop playback. So if you wanted it to just keep playing and playing, you would toggle that on. Resolution is trying to take away, that's why I say the quality is never really assured in video unless you render it in the deliverable format, which is the deliverable setup for the whole document, because playback, it takes a lot of time for a lot of visual effects. And so they give you your files at a less quality, and it kind of freaks you out sometime. So you can always go here and say 100%, but the playback will be problematic is what I'm saying. So we sort of compromise visually, knowing it's not going to be really that way, because we want real time, real speed to be as accurate. Speed is more important to us than the graphics, because we probably have confidence in our graphics. And so it's the playback. So that's just there for you. And as you see, by default, they set it at 50%. So I usually tend to leave everything at default, but like on that one rotate tool, Adobe did not set that, which was problematic. And I want to show you that again. So let's do that. See that, because this is really important in understanding a visual effect tool. So I'm going to come over here. Again, I'll do that transform step again. I'm going to show you the difference on this. I'm going to do the transform. I'm going to say rotate and zoom because I want everything. I'm going to toggle this off, resize, click off of it, and it automatically gives me my transform. I don't like what they do because I didn't do it, so I'm just going to delete it. But you still have the transform here. Now, what I wanted to show you was, and listen to my voice, I squeak, right? Now you know why I'm so jealous of people who have great voices. So now I want to rotate this on a hinge. So I'm going to highlight. I'm going to apply Control T. I'm going to move this marker now to here, because I'm going to rotate it. I'm going to rotate it on the bottom. I'm going to rotate it on the M. So now watch what happens when I rotate. It rotates on the corner. So I would like to go like this. I'm going to go from here to boom. So you see, you would not be able to do that if you did not have that orientation on the transform. So unfortunately, when they release these new versions, all the bells and whistles are not checked. So it's not always you. So right there, I'm happy with that. And I'm going to double click it. And now I'm going to click transform and say lock that. Now, when you notice what happens up here, when I use the transform tool and I apply the, maybe this is, I just realized why they don't have the transform tool. Okay, I get it now. When I use the transform tool, notice the icons have these little visuals here, little icons. That means that they're locking this in. And if you change this, you have to start all over again. So that might be why, for beginners, that might freak them out. It's like, why isn't this not working? But I'm letting you know, you see, that locks it. And so it just locked it right now. So when I go back and try to take the white of the t-shirt away, it won't let me do that. And so I have to rebuild the visual effect all over again. So I'm going to walk through this so that you see why I'm telling you this. I like to show you problems because you will have them. So now I'm going to advance this. I want it to land, so I want it to hold. I'm going to go back to my Control T, and notice the rotate didn't keep on the orientation. Now, that may not happen in After Effects, but it just happened now. So I'm cognitive and I want to be sure, there's my 10-minute hook that takes me off. I'm going to move this back to here because that's where I had it initially on the beginning keyframe. And now I'm going to bring this back, and I'm going to lay this on a straight line. And then I'm going to accept, there's that arrow up here. If you don't remember to double click, but I'm going to double click. Now that put the keyframe. So now let's see how this looks. So you see, and what I would do, just looking at this visually, and so you can stop it right here and hit the space bar and it will show you. So what I would do is I would probably, I'm going to try to see if I can change this. Hold on. I'm going to try to get this to be quicker. Right. I'm going to go a little bit more. You see, you can change the timing on this. And I'm going to push this back, hit space bar, boom. Good. So now what I would do is I would have a sound effect that was like, boom, right? Here comes Mike, boom. So sound effects often help your visual effects because it's going to emphasize it coming over. Now, if I wanted to slow that down, I would probably put a transition in there. So I drag and drop the transition. I don't want it to be too long. Let's see how it is now. So I just click. All you have to do is click up here in that blue line and hit space bar. See, a little too slow. So I want to bring this up. Boom. And so now if I wanted to go, oh, I love that. I love what I just did, but I forgot to take the white off of the t-shirt, right? I would completely lose it. Because when I try to use you see, it won't let me because of that icon. So I would have to rasterize it. So watch what happens to these guys when I rasterize it. Where's my rasterize? Layer. Don't do all layers because you'll lose all your timelines and so forth. Layer only. And you see it took it right away. And it brought it back to position. So now I just answered my question. They do that for beginners because when you start using that transform tool, it's locking it in. And if you try to change it, so on the positions, you have, you can change things midstream. And so you can edit stuff. Any questions on that? So again, now you see how the value of that rotation. So that the reason why we say this, so if you close a door, you don't close a door from the center, you close a door from the hinges. And so you have to put that position in that, especially if like you have a perspective warp. So what I want to show you is how to apply, I do have 6 minutes. I want to show you how to apply the, what do you call it? The filters effects. Because you see down here, style, it says the word style. So on my mic layer, I'm going to utilize the magic eraser. Check out 32 is good. And it should take everything away except for this guy. And often, you don't know if it's all gone, but I'm going to just assume that it is. But we'll soon find out if it is all gone. So anyway, so now I have this, and now I want to apply the filter. So you do want to apply the filter first. And not filter, I'm sorry. I say filter because to me it's like a visual effect, but it's a layer style. This is in Photoshop. Layer style, outer glow. And what you want to do is you just want to see it. So I'm going to choose, right? You can choose from the actual picture. And there's my glow, right? I can see where I didn't do the magic eraser right in here. And now I have that. So now I'm going to go boom, glow. So that's what I want. But I didn't prepare my assets, my graphics. So that's why I'm saying get all your graphics prepared, cleaned up, whatever you want to see, so that when you do apply these tools to the time base, keyframing is what we call it, or tweening, that's another terminology, you can apply that. So the way to use these layer styles is to establish the before and after. And that's really where beginners fall through the cracks, is they get right to where they want to be, which is the glow, but they didn't establish the keyframe without the glow. So tweens only happen because of before, not after. So you want to establish the before and then after. Sometimes you can start with the after and work backwards. Somebody asked about revealing, and because of my time, let's do that in the next session, how to do a write on, okay? It's really fun to do that, and I'll show that is actually frame by frame. And then this way, you can get that nice, curvature that you want, or even an image. You can, reveal things, it looks like it's erasing. So we'll do that in the next session at 2 o'clock. Let me just finish this one, because I have 3 minutes and I do have time. So I am going, now this one, I should put my transform on, because I am going to use that. So we're doing that again. Take this off. See, as you can see, it forces it. And then deselect, come off of it. It applied it. Oh, and look at that. Don't know what that is. Let me see here. That probably, let's do that. Oh, I'm so fascinated by this. That was something that was behind. I have no idea, folks. Clueless. I'm going to back it up. I didn't see this down below. So that is what was happening. So I'm on that layer. So you see, I took off the transform because it locks it. So I'm just going to do this without the transform first, because you did see the transform. So right now, I've got my style on, and what you want to do is click. So now this is not what I want. I want it to be, I want it to come on midstream. So this is how you can actually establish it like this. Click again over here. So clicking this triangle, if you can see it on your screen, it's going to lock, because see, nothing is changing. It's not like a position change. So I'm going to click, and that locks it. I'm going to bring it back. Now watch, instead of me moving it like this, I'm going to use the arrows over here to get back to that keyframe. So sometimes if you're zoomed out, you're not actually on that keyframe, but the arrows will snap it right to the next keyframe. So now on this one, I'm going to go back to my outer tool, outer glow, sorry, come over here, and now I'm going to take the opacity down so you don't see it. I just changed the keyframe. Now I say okay, and let's see if it keeps the scrub. And there it is. So here we go. You see? And if I wanted it to go fast, obviously, I'm going to do that, changing this. Up, I have less than a minute. Let's watch it. There you have it. Now that loop back will play that. If I wanted to keep playing it over and over again, let's see. I'm going to get cut off, folks, so I'm going to wave now. So when we come back, we'll do that right on. So let me just put playback on here. All right, I just hit playback. Now it doesn't play back right where I want.